new 3D scan finally reveal how Göbekli Tepe T-pillars were made. You have probably seen that headline lately. It promises a 2025 breakthrough. But if you look for the actual study, you won't find it, because they are lying to you. And believe it or not, the real archaeology is even more extraordinary than the fiction. But to understand why the lie is so ridiculous, we first have to look at what is actually there. Göbekli Tepe was first recorded in a 1963 survey, but its significance wasn't recognized until 1994 when German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt revisited the mound and realized the large T-shaped stones sticking out of the ground were the tops of prehistoric megaliths. Radiocarbon dates from the earliest exposed enclosures, place initial construction in the late 10th millennium before Common Era, with continued use and modification through the early 9th millennium and final backfilling around 8000 before Common Era. The very dawn of agriculture and settled life in the Near East. The core of the site consists of monumental enclosures built with T-shaped limestone pillars. 4 large, roughly circular or oval enclosures have been fully excavated. In the big early enclosures, the 2 central pillars stand about 5.5 meters tall and weigh roughly 8 to 10 tons each. Surrounding pillars are around 4 meters high. Many carry low-relief carvings of animals. Some pillars also bear arms and hands in relief, indicating the T-shape is anthropomorphic. These aren't just stones, they're stylized human figures. The pillars and building stone were quarried directly from the limestone plateau where Göbekli Tepe stands. Quarry zones with cut trenches, rough outs and half-finished pieces form part of the archaeological site itself. Excavations and field documentation by the research team show how flint picks were used to cut channels around the desired block, taking advantage of natural bedding planes and fault lines in the rock. Wooden wedges and beams were then likely used to lever pieces free. In several quarries, nearly finished pillars, ring-shaped blocks and other elements were abandoned in place when flaws or cracks appeared. The most dramatic example is a T-shaped pillar about 7 meters long and roughly 1.5 meters thick that still lies on the western plateau. Its estimated weight is around 50 metric tons. It was never moved to the mound, probably because of a structural defect or because the project was judged too ambitious. That's the real baseline. An unfinished 50-ton pillar left at the quarry. All of it built by people who had no metal tools, no wheels, no draft animals. Now here's where the viral videos go off the rails. They claim a 2025 breakthrough study mapped hundreds of precise quarry extraction points within a 2-kilometer radius, including a named pillar, QP47, that is 70% detached and weighs 65 tons. They say microscopic analysis revealed ultra-precise 2 to 3 millimeter wide cuts with less than 1 millimeter deviation over a meter. None of that exists. There's no peer-reviewed study with those details, no pillar designated QP47, no published measurements of millimeter perfect cuts. Fire setting and thermal shock are known in principle as ancient quarrying techniques, but there's no published site report from Göbekli Tepe demonstrating systematic thermal shock quarrying with measured temperatures and scorch signatures. Current technical descriptions focus on flint picks, exploiting natural strata and mechanical wedging, not burnt quarry faces or controlled heating experiments. The narrative repeatedly insists there are no practice pillars, no failed attempts, no evidence of learning through trial and error, and it uses that to argue the builder's skills appeared fully formed. This is directly contradicted by documented evidence, nearly finished pillars, rings and other stone elements abandoned in the quarries when flaws or cracks appeared. Those pieces are exactly the kind of misstarts and failures that show a learning process and the pragmatic limits of the technology. Transport and erection get framed as physically almost impossible for hunter-gatherers. But here's the key correction. The largest pillars actually erected in the enclosures are on the order of 8 to 10 tons, not 50. The single 50-ton pillar is the unfinished one still at the quarry. It was never moved. Ethnographic and experimental data from other contexts show that multi-ton stones can be transported and raised with wooden sledges, ropes and earthen ramps given enough labour and organisation. Distances from quarry to mound at Göbekli Tepe are relatively short, less than 100 metres to at most about 500 metres, and the idea that carved reliefs show no damage from movement, also wrong. Pillars and walls at Göbekli Tepe do show weathering, damage and later repair. Broken pillars were reset or reused. Transport and erection left traces of stress and failure. The viral videos assert Göbekli Tepe has no permanent settlements, no granaries, no logistical infrastructure, that it's purely ceremonial, and they use that to argue specialized full-time stoneworkers couldn't have been supported locally. Domestic buildings have been identified. Water management features, extensive grinding stone assemblages that indicate serial processing and at least semi-sedentary occupation on or around the mound. Current debates among archaeologists are about how much daily life versus strictly ritual activity took place on the mound, not about a complete absence of settlement or subsistence infrastructure. A key move in the viral videos is the claim that stonework and artwork quality decline over time, in a way that can only be explained by inheritance and decline from an unknown earlier, more advanced civilization. There are indeed multiple construction phases. Modifications over roughly 1500 years. Some pillars show more wear than others, but the idea of a lost parent civilization responsible for the earliest architecture is a fringe interpretation, not supported by excavation data or mainstream syntheses of the pre-pottery Neolithic. What we're seeing is normal Neolithic processes: reuse, repair, changing styles, not the twilight of a vanished high-tech culture. The viral videos also lean heavily on astronomical alignment claims. In the actual literature, proposals that Göbekli Tepe encodes precise stellar or calendar systems remain controversial. Some have been rejected outright by the site team. Others are framed cautiously as hypotheses, not proof of lost scientific elites. Finally, the viral videos frame the entire discussion in terms of institutional resistance. They suggest archaeologists cling to a beginning of civilization narrative for careerist reasons, while the stones supposedly point to a forgotten advanced culture. In the real research conversation, the controversy is about how Göbekli Tepe fits into the already well-documented transition from mobile foragers to early farmers in Southwest Asia, not about suppressing evidence of an unknown prior civilization. Mainstream work explicitly uses Göbekli Tepe to challenge simplistic farming first, then monuments. There's active, open debate about ritual, domestic life, and social complexity at the site. None of that requires or supports a lost high-tech culture before the Neolithic. So what can you safely keep from the viral story, and what do you need to cut? Keep the two things the stones can't fake, the age, and the sheer scale of what was built with stone tools. But cut the two things the internet loves most: the made-up 2025 breakthrough, details like QP47 and millimeter perfect cuts. Subscribe for more evidence-based stories that challenge viral misinformation.